This session will discuss about the architecture of 8051 controller along with the registers inside the 8051 controller. Okay, so let us start our discussion with the features of 8051 microcontroller. The 8-bit CPU with registers A and B. So this controller is called as 8-bit controller. Why? Because the ALU which is present inside 8051 can perform a maximum of 8-bit operations. In the sense, if I want to perform a 16-bit operation like two operands whose size is 16 bits, then I have to divide the operand into 8 bits. Then I can perform the operation. So that is why it is called as 8-bit CPU or 8-bit microcontroller. Okay, and it has internal ROM and it has 16-bit programmable, that is program counter and data pointer, internal RAM of 128 bytes, 8-bit program status word and timer registers, and it has 4 ports. It has 3 internal interrupts and 2 external interrupts, and it is also provided with oscillator and a clock circuit. Okay, so we'll discuss about each and everything in the later sessions. Now let us see how this architecture looks like. Here, this is the basic architecture of 8051 microcontroller. As you can see here, the arithmetic and logic unit along with some registers like A, B, program counter, DPTR, program status word, and then we have RAM as well as ROM. RAM size is 128 bytes and ROM size is 4 kilobytes. Here we have a 8-bit data and address bus and then a 16-bit address bus. Okay, and apart from those things, it also contains one system timing and control unit which is responsible for generating some of the signals, and we have 4 ports like port 0, port 1, port 2 and port 3, and all these 4 ports are provided with internally some latches, and here port 0 can be acting as address as well as data lines, and it can also act as input output lines. Port 1 can only act as input or output lines, and port 2 can act as input output lines as well as it can also act as address lines, that is A8 to A15, and port 3 it will be acting as input output. Along with that, it also provides some special functions like read bar, write bar, interrupts, counter pins, serial pins. Okay, so we'll discuss each and everything. So we'll discuss about the CPU registers. So 8051 internally contains 34 general purpose registers, and out of these 34 registers, 2 registers are A and B, and remaining 32 registers are bank registers. Now here A is called as accumulator register, and this is the register which is going to hold the result immediately. Okay, in case of multiplication or division, the result will be stored inside this A register, and in most of the operations we would be using this accumulator register. Okay, and many of the instructions will also perform the implicit operation only on accumulator register. Okay, and B register, which is used for storing temporary data, and the main usage of this particular register is in case of multiplication, that is in case of 8-bit multiplication, we'll get the result as 16-bit, but as A is as the size of A is 8 bits, so the remaining 8 bits are stored inside this B register. And in case of division, we'll get quotient as well as remainder, so quotient would be stored inside this A and remainder would be stored inside the B. So that is the use of this B register. Okay, now let us see program status word. In case of 8086 processor, we have a flag register. In the same way, 8051 controller, we have program status word, which is going to represent the current status of the processor. So it has some flag bits which are going to represent the current status of the processor. Let us see the program status word, how it looks like. And here you can see that it is an 8-bit register, and here each and every bit is having its own importance. Let us see what is that importance. So here CY is nothing but carry flag. Now this particular flag is going to store the carry of the arithmetic or logical operation. Okay, and then auxiliary carry flag. Now this particular bit or this particular flag is going to hold the auxiliary carry in case of arithmetic or logical operations between the lower nipple. Okay, and F0 is provided for the user. We can use it as a general purpose flag bit. and then RS1 and RS0. These are the 2 bits which are used for selecting any one of the banks. Actually, there are 4 banks inside this 8051. Out of those 4 banks, any one of the bank registers can be selected with the help of these 2 bits. As you can see that it has 2 bits, so there would be 4 combinations: 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, and then 1, 1. So if you are programming these 2 bits with 0, 0, it means we are selecting register bank 0. It means I can access the locations from 00 to 07H. If you are programming it to 01, then it means register bank 1. If it is 10, it means we are going with register bank 2. And if it is 11, then it means we are going with register bank 3. And then we have an overflow flag. And overflow flag, which is mainly used for holding the overflow bit. And then we have a parity flag. So if you are using an even parity or odd parity, then this particular bit would become either 1 or else 0. Okay. Set or cleared by hardware each instruction cycle to indicate an odd or even number of ones in the accumulator. So here the result of accumulator, or the value which is stored in accumulator. Now this particular flag would be representing the parity status of the accumulator. Now let us see one more register, that is program counter. So program counter is mainly used for holding the address of the next instruction that is to be executed from the memory. Okay, for example, assume that now the processor is executing one instruction which is at the location 2000. Okay, now assuming that the next instruction is present at 2002. Okay, now when the processor is executing the instruction at 2000 location, now this program counter is going to hold the value that is 2002, which indicates the address of the next instruction which is in the memory. Okay, and here program counter length is 16-bit. Therefore, with the help of this program counter, we can access up to 64 kilobytes. Okay, as it can hold a maximum value of 4 Fs. 4 Fs in decimal is nothing but 64 kilobytes. So we can access only up to 64 kilobytes. Now we have one more register, that is data pointer, and the size of this register is again 16-bit register. It is mainly used for holding the address of the data RAM. Okay, if I'm connecting an external memory, that is external RAM, then I have to access the values from the data RAM, or I have to access the memory locations from the data RAM by using this data pointer register. Now it is a 16-bit register, but I cannot use directly this 16-bit register, so I have to use its 8-bit names like DPL and DPH. Okay, and it can be used as a 16-bit data register or 2 independent data registers. Okay, now we'll discuss about stack and a stack pointer. So stack is a portion of RAM which is mainly used for holding some temporary information like data, or else it might be an address. Okay, and here stack pointer is again a register which is similar to program counter as well as data pointer, but this time the stack pointer is going to hold the address of the stack locations. Okay, now here it is an 8-bit register, so it can hold a minimum value of 00 and a maximum value of FF. Okay, now if any data value is pushed onto the stack, then initially the stack pointer gets incremented by 1 and then the data value pushed onto the stack. Okay, if we use pop instruction, then initially that data value which is pointing by the stack pointer will be removed from the stack, and then the stack pointer gets decremented by 1. Okay, now internal memory, now it has 128 bytes of RAM. Now this 128 bytes of RAM is divided into 3 parts. Okay, now initial address, that is 00 to 1F. Okay, now these locations is nothing but register banks. There will be these locations will be holding the registers. Okay, those are called as banked registers. Okay, and 20 to 2F. Now this area is called as bit addressable area. We'll discuss about these things. And then 30 to 7F. Now it is a general purpose RAM where actually the data values are stored, as well as now these locations are used by the stack. Okay, now this is how the general purpose RAM area looks like, where you can see 00 to 1F are register banks like register bank 0, bank 1, bank 2 and bank 3. Now it is a default register bank, that is bank 0. Why? Because by default the values present in RS1 and RS0 would be 00. Okay, and from 20 to 2F, here you have bit addressable area. where you can access an individual bit without affecting any other bits. Okay, and 30 to 7F. Now this is a general purpose RAM area where actually the data values will be stored, or else the temporary data or temporary address will be stored here, like return addresses. So as I told you that it is organized in three areas, like working registers, bit addressable area, and general purpose RAM. So these working registers will contain totally 32 bytes from 00 to 1FH. So making up 32 registers, and any of these banks are selected with the help of RS0 and RS1, which is provided in program status word. So by default bank 0 will be selected. Okay, and bit addressable area. A bit addressable area of 16 bytes occupies RAM bytes addresses from 20 to 2FH, forming a total of 128 addressable bits. So here 20 to 2F is nothing but a total of 16 bytes. Okay, so 16 bytes is nothing but 128 bits. So I can access individual bit without modifying the content of the other bits. So that is why these are called as bit addressable bits or bit addressable area. An addressable bit may be specified by its bit address from 00H to 7FH. Now these are the bit addresses, that is 00 to 7FH. So I can address a single bit without modifying the content of the other bits with the help of some instructions like set instruction, that is set B instruction, and then clear B instruction. Okay, we have so many instructions for accessing these bit addressable area. We'll see those instructions in the later sessions. Okay, and we have general purpose area. General purpose RAM area above the bit area, that is 30 to 7FH, and addressable as bytes. So these are addressable as bytes in the sense we can address them with the help of their names, that is byte names, or else we have to address them, that is by using 8 bits. Okay, now this is how exactly the RAM looks like: bank 0, bank 1, bank 2, and bank 3. As you can see, each and every bank internally contains 8 registers, that is from R0 to R7. Okay, now R0 in bank 0 is different from R0 in bank 1, as well as bank 2, as well as in bank 3. Okay, but by default this bank 0 will be selected. Okay, now a bit addressable area, that is from 20 to 2F, and these are the bit addresses, that is 00 to 07, 08 to 0F, and so on up to 78 to 7F. And we have general purpose area, that is from P0 to 7F. Okay, now let us see external memory. So here external RAM or ROM can be interfaced to 8051 microcontroller. For example, if internal RAM or internal ROM is insufficient, then we can connect external memories to this 8051 controller. As this controller is provided with 16 address lines, so we can interface up to 64 kilobytes of memory. Okay, now if I'm interfacing an external ROM, then it can be accessed with the help of program counter, and if I'm interfacing external RAM, then it can be accessed with the help of data pointer register. Okay, now if the 128 bytes of internal RAM is insufficient, the external RAM is accessed by DPTR. In 8051 family, external RAM up to 64 kilobytes can be added to any chip. So I can interface a 64 kilobytes of RAM to this 8051 family. Okay, so 64 kilobytes, why? Because this controller is provided with 16 address lines. So 2 power 16 is nothing but 64 kilobytes. Now apart from all these registers, it is also provided with some special function registers, and all these registers are available from the address space 8022FF. And all these special function registers or SFRs are called as memory mapped registers. Why? Because each and every register is provided with an address. All these registers are mapped onto the memory. Okay, so that is from 8022FFH. Now we cannot use all these locations, only some of these locations can be used. Why? Because in case of 8051 only there are 21 SFRs. So I can use only 21 memory locations out of these 128 locations. Okay, and remaining all are reserved or unused locations. Now these are all those 21 special function registers: accumulator, B register, DPH, DPL, that is data pointer, higher byte, data pointer, lower byte, and then interrupt enable, interrupt priority, port 0, port 1, port 2, port 3 registers, and power control register, program status word, serial control register, serial buffer, stack pointer, timer mode control register, and timer control register, TL0 and TH0, which are related to timer 0, higher byte and lower byte, TL1 and TH1, these are related to timer 1, higher byte and lower byte. So all these registers can be accessed or by using their names or else by using their address. Okay, and all these are present inside the memory that is from 802FF. Now 128 byte address space directly addressable as 802FF. As I told you, they can be directly accessed with the help of their addresses. Okay, and 16 addresses are bit addressable. Now out of these 21, 16 registers or 16 addresses are bit addressable. Okay, and those bit addressable areas are recognized with the help of this thing, that is those ending in 0 or 8. So those registers addresses ends with 0, all those are accessed with accessed bit addressably, as well as those are ending with 8, they can also be accessed bit addressably. As you can see here, accumulator, B register, interrupt enable, interrupt priority, port 0, port 1, port 2, port 3, and then program status word, SCON register, and TCON register, as well as 8A, sorry, not this one, up to TCON register. Now all these registers are accessed by using their bit names. So that is why they are called as bit addressable registers. And this space contains special purpose CPU registers, IO ports, interrupt control registers, timers, as well as serial input output. So now this complete space, that is 802FF space, contains all these registers. Okay, or all these categories like special purpose CPU registers, input output ports. Okay, let us see what are those registers. So inside this category, that is CPU registers, accumulator, B register, program status word, stack pointer, and DPTR. Okay, and interrupt control registers are like interrupt enable, interrupt priority, input output ports like port 0, port 1, port 2, and port 3, and timer registers like TMOD, TCON, TH0, TL0, TH1, and TL1, and serial input output like SCON and SBUF, which is serial port control and serial data register, and other register, that is power control register. Okay, in the later session we'll discuss about addressing modes as well as instruction set of 805. Thank you.